time to talk about luxury cruising. From suites so sweet to ships elite. Come explore the world in style with me on Luxury Cruising, the podcast.
Hey, it's Crystal here. Before we get started, did you know that there is a way for you to directly support the podcast? Head over to my website, luxurycruising.net, and you can buy me a latte, a glass of champagne, or even a whole bottle of champagne if you want. Leave me a note, and I'll be sure to give you a shout out on the next episode. That's luxurycruising.net. You can also leave me a note or ask a question. Okay, let's get on with the show. Welcome back to Luxury Cruising. I'm your host, Crystal Serenity, and I'm really excited to have Bradley here, who is going to be our inaugural episode about Crystal Cruises. I'm really excited. I loved this cruise line before the pandemic. I was really sad when there was a thought for a minute that they would not survive and come back. But luckily, we got a couple of ships, maybe 2 or 3 ships now with some more in the works. But I'm sure we'll get into all of that on the podcast. Bradley, please tell the audience anything you want them to know about you.
Thank you very much for having me, first of all. Well, my name is Bradley. I've been cruising since the young age of 4. I don't want to give away my age, but that's a good few years now. I'm now 31. I've done nearly 60 cruises in total, ranging from a couple of nights up to 26 nights, 27 nights, where we do a round trip Caribbean. I've been on pretty much every cruise line there is, still quite a few left to go on. But like most of us and most of you, I have that passion and that flair for cruising and everything cruise. So that's pretty much all there is to say. I just love talking about everything cruise related.
Awesome. Well, that's why we're here, because we all love to hear and talk about cruising, especially luxury cruising.
Absolutely.
So tell us, what made you decide to go on Crystal?
Well, first and foremost, I think everybody will agree that cruising throughout the ages has changed a lot, Since the early days that I started cruising, obviously, there wasn't that many mega ships, should we say, those ships that carry 4, 5, 6, 7,000 people. It was the smaller ships. My first ship was actually Grand Princess. Went into Fort Lauderdale. We flew out from where we are here in the UK, and she was the biggest ship in the world at the time. And that's what started off our flair and our love of cruising. Over the years, I've sort of seen a decline in my love for the bigger ships, should we say, those ships that are just like floating cities. It sort of then branched us out into looking for a different route. We didn't really know a lot about luxury cruising, should we say. That's at the sort of the 6-star group of cruises, until we started really listening to people, watching different podcasts, going on different social media platforms, and seeing that market is out there. So when I saw a few of these reviews, as many of us do on YouTube, I saw the likes of Crystal Cruises and thought, you know what, why not just give it a go? And should we say, from the moment we said go, it's been a journey in which we've said, wow. And only recently, might I add. But yeah, it was that sort of dragging towards wanting to go back to an era where cruising was all sort of the place to be. It was the opulence, the luxury, stepping on board into a world of just wow. So yeah, that's why we chose to go down the finer route, should we say, look at the 6-star. Of course, pricing is a bit different, but it's just a matter of saving a bit more and seeing if we can squeeze 1 or 2 in. So yeah, we've certainly looked into it a lot, and now we've branched into it over the last 1.5 to 2 years.
Awesome. Well, I love what you said too. And I think that that's a valid point. It's like, you might cruise less often, but at a higher level than cruising maybe 10 times a year, but in an inside stateroom on a mega ship with, 5,000, 6,000 people. And that's really valid, right? I know that for me, for my family at this point, we're definitely at the cruise more often in a more budget friendly way. But once maybe I'm an empty nester, kids are out of the house, I might choose a different route.
Yeah, absolutely. With us, it was very much, of course, me being older now, I'm paying for my old cruises, because now I'm over the age of 18 and I'm working, got my own sort of income, stuff like that. You tend to think, oh gosh, the bank of mum and dad, should we say, or as we say down here, our grandparents, nanny and grumpy, that's no longer exists. So it was a case of, right, so we're going to keep on the mainstream of, the main lines. Sort of being in the UK, it was primarily P&O. But as we've got older and sort of gone our own way, should we say, and have our own sort of incomes, and we value it more, knowing that what we had when we were children, that we were cruising all the time because my parents are business owners, same as my grandparents. And we were limited to when we could go away, but certainly weren't limited in the vast amount of holidays that we had and travel. The word very lucky, we'll be honest with that. And when you come then to that life where you become an adult and you learn how much things are, it goes into sort of an understanding of the value of a holiday in itself. As you rightly said, when you're younger, young kids, young family, it's all about budget, right? How many holidays can we get on? Can we even get on holidays? What ship goes where? Is that the best price? Let's get on and let's have a good time. When you start then seeing, right, okay, money isn't an issue, but our budget is stretching a bit more now. It might just be mum and dad, or it might be myself with a friend or whoever. We can afford this little bit more. But this sort of luxury, this sort of price bracket gets us into a different level of luxury in which we're going to have this much more or that much more of a better service. Every service is excellent on every ship that I've experienced. However, when you get into that market, you expect to pay a little bit more or quite a
Yeah.
lot more in some aspects because you are wanting and know you are going to get, fingers crossed, that absolute epic service, as I would say.
Absolutely. Um, so which crystal ship were you on and why did you choose it?
So we went on Crystal Serenity. She was absolutely gorgeous, absolutely amazing. I believe she was built back in 2003, so she's not a new ship by any means. However, the Crystal brand, the Crystal line, have kept her in, well, I can't even put into words how absolutely first class she is. From the moment you see her, she's got that older ship feel, number one, because she's a smaller ship. But when you step on board, you could honestly feel as if you were stepping on a brand new ship from a bygone era, should we say. However, that majestic cruise feel that you're on a ship, but you do feel that you're in sort of a 6-star hotel. I'm not going to say it's because it does have some sort of aspects, but it has that opulence, that just feel of old regal cruising life, a bygone
Yeah.
era, as I said before.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm just picturing like a mini Titanic. Or
oh,
maybe these days the Titanic is not considered a big ship, so maybe it is the size of Titanic.
Such a valid point. Obviously, we've seen through pictures and videos or whatever else of the Titanic, but it is that, when you see sort of, is it Kate or whatever it was, walking up the gangplank, as I'd say, and she's just looking at the ship and thinking, wow. And that's what it was. We arrived. Why did we pick this particular one? It was a short sailing and it was within our budget again, because we were just creeping into the 6-star market. It was a cruise that ticked all the boxes. It was a cruise that fitted the budget, fitted the time frame for work, and it was something that if we don't do it now, we're not going to be able to do it. So we took that, sort of bit that bullet, should we say, and went. And from the moment we booked it, the moment we got off, it was just everything about it was just amazing. The service itself, even before you got on the ship, having the old luggage labels. We never get that anymore. It's all online. They would send you the luggage labels to put in your bag. Different cruise lines are different, but that,
Yeah.
should we say, little touches were just effortless. There was no rush
They,
and
they
check
sent
in.
they sent you like what, like a leather luggage tag?
No, it's, with Princess and Pinot, I don't know if it's different in the States. When we book a cruise here, you go onto your cruise personalizer, you check in, and they give you sort of things to print out, the luggage labels that you stick on your bag. Do you have that there in the States, or
Yeah.
is it different?
Yeah.
Yeah, they send you, it's not leather, but it's a very nice sort of the old luggage labels that you'd have, which is all printed, all
Mhm.
symbolized, all the everything's on there. And it was just little touches like that. Like you didn't have to fuss around with going online and printing it out and making sure that it's clipped and
Yeah.
sellotaped or however way you do it. That nostalgia, they're trying to do that and getting it right. They send you a little booklet of everything about your cruise and all your information is there. And there's no such thing as waiting half hour, 40 minutes on a phone to speak to one of, the members in the team. Pick up the phone within minutes. Yes, this is your personal concierge. What can we do for you? And yes, you get that with other lines, but nothing was a rush. Nothing was too much. I can see this is your first Crystal cruise. Right. This is going to be a little bit different. There's nothing at the quayside. When you arrive, your bags are gone and you walk and you check in on the ship. It was just, we haven't done this before. What is this? It's like a kid in a sweet shop.
Yeah.
It was getting greeted by a glass of
Yeah.
champagne even before you get on the ship and walking on. And then there's another glass of champagne. And by the time you check in, you think, God, do you remember my name? You know, it's like, how many glasses of champagne
Wow.
have I had? It was, yeah, superb.
That's amazing. Wow, that sounds amazing. So you get on the ship and you said it was opulence, the decor was sort of like old classic cruising decor. How was the room?
Oh, the suites. That's another thing. The rooms themselves. You see these big ships now, and yes, they are fabulous and they're modern, but they're compact. I sail in inside cabins because that fits my budget, and I go with my friends and family, and they're lovely. They fit a purpose, should we say? Even the smaller suites or
Mhm.
cabins, something when you walk into a 5 or 6 star resort hotel, and you know by looking at the bed linen, the fresh fruit baskets, the fully stocked mini bar. On certain categories, you get a butler. We had a butler, and he was fantastic, and greeting us before we even got to the suite and showed us around. And the scent that comes from somewhere we couldn't even know where it was coming from. It
Mm,
was just that opening the door. Well, first of all, we didn't open the door. The butler opened the door. So that was a shock by itself. And you'd walk in, and this
yeah.
suite we certainly didn't have the highest grade suite. We had a sapphire veranda suite, which is sort of mid level, which is absolutely stunning. And you've got an iPad there, which I never thought I'd see. Being on a ship that's nearly 30 years of age, an iPad that controls everything, or it's got everything on there. You know, when I say they are older
Yeah.
ships, but they've caught up with modern technology, it was like, oh, wow. And for someone like me, that was excellent because I deal with an iPad every day. I work on it. I know how to use things of our
Mhm.
generation. That's how today's world works. USB sockets. It was like, gosh, we'd brought all adapters thinking, right, there's going to be a select few little plug sockets, and there wasn't it. Everything was there. You could go
That is
around the
really nice to
room
know. That is really
with
nice
your
to hear.
finger, and it was so clean. It was just, yeah.
Mm,
They've sort of caught up with the world as it
yeah.
is today. They know that their ships are old. However, they've made that old girl ship, should we say, as we always say about a ship, they're always female, to this modern day luxury boutique resort that's 21st century, but feels like you're back in that bygone era of cruising. It's amazing how they've amalgamated it all into something that's superb.
I love it. It's almost like they took the ship down to the studs and like revamped it, redid the electrical, redid all of the, putting in USB ports. Cause I mean, I've been on ships certainly newer than 20. Did you say it's 20 years old?
2003, I believe she was built.
Yeah. I've been on ships way newer than that that had like two plugs and not even a USB. So that's really impressive.
It is. And they're constantly refurbing the ship. We were speaking to the crew members. It's one of them ships where you see reviews or you see people video a ship when it's gone into dry dock, and you see what they do. They're painting, changing carpets, all that sort of thing. That happens daily on a Crystal. I don't mean now that's all you see is people fixing things. I don't mean that. I mean, you walk out on the teak deck, the actual deck that goes around the ship, the promenade, and you're looking at the team just touching a paintwork or looking for a bit of rust. And it's like you're walking past going, wow, I've got a car that's a few months old and it's nowhere near in good nick as this ship. It's like they treat the ship like a member of the family. And to be fair, without the ship, it's nothing. And they treat
Right.
that ship like a classic car that's worth endless amounts of money. You can't put a price tag on it. If most people see these ships and think, gosh, that's a very small ship that looks very old, and they step on board, they'll go, my gosh, this ship is newer than most of the brand new ships that have just come out of the dockyard. It's just sensational.
Yeah. Yeah. How many passengers
Right.
it
I
hold?
believe, don't quote me on the exact number, but it was circa 740, 750, something like that. So it's, as I said, a small ship. However, Crystal, again, this has
Yeah.
come from the team that we were speaking to on
Yeah.
board, sail around 75% capacity. So at any one time, there's about 500, 550 on the ship.
Yeah.
So when I say a luxury yacht feel, that's
Mhm.
how it was. You could walk around. I know this doesn't sound a long time, 5 minutes, but you could walk around for 5 minutes and not see anyone. Can you imagine that on
Wow.
today's massive cruise liners?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
It's
quite a
just
stat. Yeah.
non-existent.
Yeah.
You know, we would walk on the promenade deck daily because I went with my mum, and we would walk around, and it's all on my Instagram and TikTok actually. we were just filming and taking photos of nothing because there was nobody there. So you can imagine people
Mhm.
looking at us and they're thinking, why are they taking photos of nothing? It was to show that there was nobody
Yeah.
else
All the
around us.
space.
The space, the feeling of, oh my gosh, am I on my own yacht? It's like, oh, is this how a billionaire feels on his big yacht, out in the south
Mhm.
of France? It was just, oh, can't look at me smiling just thinking about it.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds amazing. So tell us, you had a butler that opening the door for you. What other things did the butler do for you? What was that like?
There's an array of things that they do. You actually get a list and they will tell you what they will do for you and what, well, not what they won't do for you because they will do pretty much anything. For us, because it's a new feeling, yes, we've been on other lines that we've had butlers, as I said, the bigger lines. This is a lot more of a personal service because you get the butler for pretty much anything and everything. You see him or her all the time. It's not like the other ships where you might see them on the first day and then they come every now and then to drop off canapes or something like that. They will do it. They'll unpack for you. They'll pack for you. They'll take you down to dinner. They'll come and set up an in-suite meal. They will go through your show excursions, your restaurant bookings, anything and everything. They'll escort you around the ship. Whatever you want to a degree, they will do for you. But they're not over attentive, should we say. They don't make you feel uncomfortable
Yeah.
because you know what it's like sometimes, especially being on a ship. Your room is small enough as it is. The more people are in there, the more cramped and crowded it is. And especially for us, especially me and my mum when we go away, we love having the service, but we also like to be left alone. Not to a point where we don't want to
Yeah.
speak to people. That sounds awful. But sometimes you get a bit, for someone like this who doesn't, not so much used to the butlers, it's like, oh gosh, right, okay, don't know how to act, what to say. They make you feel at ease. It's a friend, family. On my Instagram, the first day I took photos and my mum and the butler hugging each other, because they've gauged what they like. Of course, not everybody's like that. I totally understand. Some people
Yeah.
like a degree of
Yeah.
decorum where, right, there's my butler does this and that's it. And then others are like, come on in, let's have a chat. Tell us about Crystal. Tell us what do we need to do? And that's what they're like. So I would say you can have anything
Yeah.
ranging from family friendly to having a chit chat, as we would say, and coming in and just chatting to you, to doing pretty much your packing, unpacking, and taking you around the ship, serving you whatever you want within your suite, and doing anything they can for you.
That's beautiful. I love that. And yeah, I mean, like that's the mark of like a, real service professional is that they can already just start to gauge like what's your comfort level, right? Like sometimes I find like sometimes the stage attendants are almost a little too attentive and they want to chat with you and you're like, dude, I need to get on with my cruise. Like I'm not spending 10 minutes chatting with you. And then
Yeah,
other times they're never around. You're like, where's my stateroom attendant? I can't find them. And so having someone, and I'm sure that's kind of what goes into when they select someone as a butler is that they can get that sense already from people how much attention they may or may not want. So that's amazing.
absolutely, without
I
a
love
doubt.
it. So,
It's brilliant.
yeah. So you mentioned the food. Tell us what was the food like on Crystal?
First and foremost, let me just get this over and done with. And I will tell you this. I have done nearly 60 cruises on every line. And I will say with heartfelt confidence and from personal experience that Crystal were up there, if not the best food at sea or on land that I and my mum have ever tasted. So much so that we didn't even go to the main dining room, even though it was a shorter cruise, because specialty dining to a point is included on Crystal. You get a set amount of times you can go to certain restaurants. We were just solely amazed at what we were getting, even to room service. There was one afternoon when we came off, it's called Set or Seti in France, down in France, a lovely little town where we'd come on and lovely sunset. We thought, should we just stay in the balcony? Fillet steak, you know, creme brulee, anything you wanted, anything from the main dining room, even if they could get it, they would deliver it. And it was just the best quality. I can't even put into words the taste of some of the meals that we've had, even to the point where I call it a buffet. Obviously, it's a bit different on, 6-star, these luxury cruises, they call it
Yeah.
marketplace or whatever they decide to call it. Oh, well, if you're serving the likes of steaks and crabs and lamb and all this array of food where you don't even get sometimes in the main dining room, and not just that, it wasn't the quality, it was the fact of you're walking around this buffet and it's just you and a few other people. There's no lines. There's no queuing. There's no thinking, oh gosh, grab whatever you can as quickly as possible because, somebody else is here or somebody's behind you or there's so many people. They make food in front of you for you. Your pasta, your salads. My mum is a very healthy eater and she likes her salads. There was even salads there that she didn't even know existed. When
Wow.
you see that, you're like, wow. To the point where one of the times we went to the buffet, one of the crew came up to us and said, the buffet's closing in 10, 15 minutes. We're like, wow, okay, no problem. Thank you for coming to tell us. Something like that on a bigger ship you don't get because there's not enough staff,
Mhm.
first of all, or you don't
Yeah.
know. They come with you. Right, would you like me to carry this? What would you like? Would you like a salad? I'll get you a salad for you, ma'am. Please go over there and see what else you'd like. Would you like lamb chops? Well, you're not going to have these. These are for display. We're going to cook fresh ones for you. How do you like them? Pink, well done. It was like, this is the buffet, isn't it? Not a restaurant. And it was just
Yeah.
unbelievable. But I will say, the restaurants on board, there was two in particular. They were all amazing. There's one called the Beef Bar, which is exclusively to Crystal. It's a place as well in Monaco, I believe, or Monte Carlo. It's a brand of the Beef Bar, which was unbelievable. It's got a bougie vibe to it where you can go there for lunch or dinner. This is all included. And they're serving you Wagyu beef, which is all in no upcharge. You can have it in
Mm.
a sandwich. There's the bao buns. I know we can
Yeah.
all pronounce things differently. Um, Even at lunch, they're pulling this off and there's steam coming out of it, all the mist and the smell. And this is just lunchtime. And you're sitting there going, are we experiencing this? And the only Nobu or Nobu, whichever way you say it, at sea. So on a cruise ship. So there's Symphony and Serenity, Nobu or Nubu. They're exclusively to Crystal. I will tell you, it is the best experience we have ever had on land or sea in terms
Yeah.
of quality, quantity, service, atmosphere. Well, it's called Umi Uma. That's what the restaurant is called. So it's Umi Uba Nubu at sea. Umi. We're
Yeah.
not into that type of cuisine because we don't have it where we're from. Down in South, we don't have a lot of that cuisine here. However,
Yeah.
we tasted everything because this team around us, right, this is what you don't like spice. Okay, this is what I recommend. And it's not one thing. They ordered everything. We were there for 3.5 hours of
Wow.
pure
Wow.
enjoyment.
Is it like Asian fusion or more Japanese sushi? What kind of food?
It's a mixture. Again, I'm not 100% exactly what it is because I'm not very good at that sort of cuisine. However, it was very much of
Mhm.
sort of the lobster rolls, the sort of sushi aspect of it, everything that you get in the Nobu. We don't have that here, so I've never experienced it.
Yeah.
What it was all that sort of culinary experience of that cuisine, all sort of put into one and done his way, Chef Nobu, and his team on board were culinary. There's one particular lobster tempura that I'd have. Oh my gosh, I've never tasted anything like it. And the Wagyu beef steak, I could use my glasses here and cut into it. That is what it was like. You could use a spoon.
Wow.
It
Yeah.
was unbelievable. So if that doesn't tell you how good the food is, then I don't know who would describe it better.
That sounds amazing. So, anything else about the food that really stood out? I mean, I don't know what else you can say after cutting through Wagyu with glasses, but
Do you
anything
know?
else?
Yeah, there's one thing I would say, and it's this. When you go on a cruise or a holiday, after a day or two, you understand the food sort of level, where it is, what they offer, and what to expect. Crystal is one of the only lines that I have gone on where every day I was constantly surprised by what I was eating or what I was looking at menu wise, because it's that type of every bite. I never explained things like this, was like a gastronomic experience in itself because I never tasted things like it because I've never experienced it. But then I'm thinking, gosh, is this what I'm going to get used to over the next couple of nights or a week or so? And then the next day, I'm looking at a menu and so, well, that was different to yesterday. They've put a special on. Or, okay, I didn't try that yesterday. Is that going to be better than this? Don't get me wrong. There's obviously things you're not going to like because everybody's different. And that's the best thing about your palate. You can be me and you could be
Yeah.
completely different in what we like. But just because you don't like something doesn't mean that I'm not going to like it. So me and my mum always try different things. It's not because it was bad. It's just because I don't like
Yeah.
it. I will 100% tell you that I don't think there was anything on this cruise that I didn't like. Even things that I don't like having at home, I would try because they were done by professionals and done in a different way in which I was like, is this really cucumber? I know that sounds so random, but I don't like cucumber. But it was done in a way by these chefs where I was like, oh my gosh, can I
It's
have some
actually
more?
good.
You know. It was the fact of always being surprised by the sheer quality and experience you have with the food. It's like an art. I'm one of these where I like a quantity of food. These days, I do believe this is my own experience that you look at the food with thirst on you, that you look, or you taste with your eyes half the time, or whatever the saying is. I'm one of these where if I'm not satisfied because I don't have enough of the food, I know that sounds like a bit of a gluttonous, but it's not. You do get these days very small portions, don't you? With certain, restaurants or cruise lines. With Crystal, it was
Mhm.
always the
Yeah.
perfect amount, but not just that. It was, would you like another? Or they'd slip in something like you'd say how amazing your starter was, and then you'd have your main. And then lo and behold, a small version of your starter you just had just comes next to you because the waiter knows how much you liked it. And it might have
Wow.
only been two mouthfuls, right? But it was just the thought and your brain triggering going, oh yeah, I can do another two mouthfuls. I put on a stone already, but still I'll have
Yeah.
another two mouthfuls. And it was just,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the best I can explain it.
That's amazing. So let's shift to the excursions. Did you go on any crystal specific excursions? And, what was that like?
Yeah, we did two excursions, only because they went to specific places that we wanted to go that weren't offered via tour or get your guide or anything like that for different excursions. Um, these were included because with our deal we had, like every cruise is different, onboard credit or cruise experience credit or cruise trip credit, whatever it is. We had some credit to use. And it was just effortless. You get your tickets like on every other cruise, but it's not. Your butler would see you the day before or the morning of, a gentle reminder, a gentle note, Mr. Diamond Jones, don't forget your tour tomorrow at 9 a.m. If you'd like me to take you down to the lounge to meet, please let me know. It was often but subtle with the reminders.
Mhm.
And because it was such a small ship, you'd walk past sort of the guest experiences, tours, whatever it was. They'd know you by name. Oh, Mr. Diamond Jones, remember now tomorrow? Can't wait to see you. We're going to this chapel or we're going to see this vineyard or whatever it is you were going. Would I say that the quality of the tours were the best I've ever had? Yes, but they didn't differ much to other tours, experience that I've had with other cruises, because you find that all
Mhm.
tours are the same from many different lines because they go into the same place. Would I say it was a lot more exclusive? Yes, because again, it's a smaller ship, smaller groups within the tours. So it was a lot more of a friendly feel. There wasn't a mass group. So if I was to say one thing, yes, the massive difference was, no pun intended, the massive group wasn't there. It was a much more condensed, exclusive feel to it. And the tour guides were exceptional. Because the
Yeah.
places we were quite small anyway, I'm sure that other cruise lines who go there would have the same guides, but it was a lot more personal. Everything was done at a much slower pace. The sort of the transport as well. You'd have like exclusive Mercedes Sprinter vans or whatever you call them. Is a lot more of a luxury
Mm.
feel to it.
Yeah. Woo, that sounds fantastic. How did they like keep you entertained in the evenings or maybe during the day? I don't know if you had a sea day.
You can tell by my face. I had no expectations of entertainment on board because my sort of brain worked as I come from the bigger ships. We call it the razzmatazz, the American entertainment, because you are fantastic at entertainment. Theatre, Broadway shows, everything like that comes from sort of where you are. Every model of entertainment comes from an American aspect of such, from what we've seen. Of course, being on a British line like P&O, yes, the entertainment is tailored for British guests. However, it's still got that big band sort of, theatre performance in the big theatres. So we were thinking, right, is this going to be now too subdued for us? Is it going to
Mhm.
be pianists on for the next week that, we're not going to enjoy because it's very repetitive? I will happily tell you that I couldn't have been more wrong.
Yeah.
The vast array of entertainment from pianists, singers, uh, comedians, even a small theatre production on this small ship. They were
Yeah.
exceptional. And there was this one, I'm trying to think, it was the house band. People who listen to this, who go on Crystal, will correct me. It was the house band that did this particular um, evening in the Starlight Club, I think it was called, the Starlight Lounge. Again, like the food comment, it was the best entertainment I have ever seen. It's on my Instagram. It is
Wow.
unbelievable. There was musician after musician after musician, but all of them danced, not sang, but got with it. It was this saxophonist, whichever way you say it,
Mhm.
was unreal. There was a dancer, the violinist, the pianist. Everybody would get up and they would get in the crowd. Thinking it's something you wouldn't expect with a luxury line. As I said, very subdued. Or the rhetoric of it is, you go on something that's ultra exclusive like that, and you'd be a very sort of tame, relaxed sort of atmosphere. This was, no, you get
Stuffy.
up and go. Yeah, stuffy, quite hoity-toity, should we say, as we say down here.
Yeah.
Gosh, are we allowed to dance? Are we allowed to jump up and
Yeah.
have a jive? Something like that. But wow, were we wrong? And the best thing is, you see this band, the house band, who were, again, unreal. You'd go in then to the Avenue Saloon, which is literally what it says, like a saloon bar, with this gorgeous oak sort of bar area where you can sit. You're sitting there and you're having caviar and lobster little bites, pizzas. This is now at 10, 11 o'clock at night, okay? Watching your
Yeah.
cocktail being made whilst watching a singer, a busker, should we say, who was telling jokes at the same time. This bar fits about 30 people, and there was like 50 in there, right? The atmosphere was unreal. And then they'd say, oh, don't forget the nightclub's open at 11:30. And you're like, nightclub? So you'd go from there to the nightclub, which is literally a nightclub, and everyone is there, which just blew my whole sort of thought, ultra luxury aspect of, you think, oh, no, nobody's going to party on here. And we're not big party animals, right? And so get that out of the window. That's not what we do. We do like a jive, we like a party, we like a dance, but we're not, up until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning because the drink package is still going. That's not who we are. And nothing wrong with those who want to. I totally get you on holidays. You do you, as I say. You do what you want. But
Right.
this was just unbelievable, like nothing I've ever experienced. And to come from a company like this, who are that ultra luxury brand,
Yeah.
it was nonstop. It was
Not
unbelievable. This was
expected.
not expected, but gladly received.
Yes, that sounds fantastic. Oh, I love it. I love it. So, Bradley, let's step away from this cruise and ask a couple of questions I ask everyone. The first is, how do you define luxury?
How do I define luxury? I think, as I sort of touched on earlier on, it's the aspect of stepping on board somewhere where all your expectations have been blown away to a point. It's somewhere where you instantly feel at ease, but are constantly being surprised by a level of service that you knew you were going to expect, but also exceeds that. It's the finer things, such as going to ask for a drink, which is, you could say vodka and lemonade or gin and lemonade. And the brands that they use are not brands you even heard of because they're at such a luxury level that you wouldn't even have back
Mhm.
home. It's like, wow. It's like stepping onto a magic carpet, as I would say. Now understanding what luxury cruising is about, because I've done other luxury brands, I can safely say that it's best phrased like this: stepping into a world where you feel at home but also feel like you're treated like royalty. That's my understanding of it. Now, that might not be to other people
Wow, I love that.
in the same aspect. I want to feel as if I'm at home, but also experiencing things that I don't get to experience back home because we don't have that sort of luxury here.
Love it.
It's like unboxing, a present at Christmas. You've got that fun and excitement for a while, and then you're left with wanting more. So that's my understanding of luxury. Everybody's different, I know, but yeah, that's my little spin on it.
I love that. Did this crystal experience meet that expectation for you?
No, it completely blew it away. No, this was the level, because you've got to think now as well. Someone like me, even though I've done nearly 60 cruises, and yes, I've got to the age of 31 now, which I feel old, I never heard of Crystal because Crystal wasn't a brand that even came into my family's remit because it was completely out of our league. And not just that, because it was such a small company, we were never looking at luxury brands or
Yeah.
luxury lines. So we never heard of it until whatever they like to call YouTubers, influencers, bloggers, until I saw these reviews and I saw them. There was actually one that I saw called the Posh Travel Blog, who were fantastic. And they introduced me to this crystal brand by watching their review. Again, everybody's different. Everybody has a different experience. But when I saw it and we saw this deal, and it was only because of the deal, even though we'd seen reviews, because again, this was out of our price range. However, this is where the funny, I sound like a hypocrite. It was out of our price range, but because now I've experienced it, as we said earlier, I'm now in a position where I can go, I can't afford that. I'm not going to go on as many cruises or holidays this year because I really want that ultra luxury holiday, cruise, which vacation, whichever way you want to put it, because that's my epitome of what I want to do and where I want to go and how I want to be treated and how I want to feel coming off that holiday. You know, you go on every holiday wanting to stay. Hopefully you do. You know, everybody has a bad experience, I know. But Crystal do it in such a way
Yeah.
that they actually have this phrase, you've been crystallized.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's their phrase. And I can happily tell you that both me and mum, and now my dad, who's going to go on in June next year, because we booked them on a lovely anniversary cruise for 2 weeks back on Serenity, he's going to understand what it's like to be crystallized because I don't know anybody that's come off that ship yet. Everybody might have a different experience who hasn't been crystallized to a point. So, yeah, it's blown every
Love it.
expectation.
I love that. I'm so glad. And hopefully, after hearing this, other people will be introduced to Crystal and all of its amazingness and be inspired to check it out as well. Do you have a dream cruise?
Do I have a dream cruise? That's the question. The answer to it is yes,
Me.
multiple. I've gone multiple. I haven't done Alaska or Canada yet. So the Rockies, I want to do a land based and cruise based. I want to go to San Francisco. I want to do the Northern Lights. I've done Norway and I've done the Baltic and everything around there, but I haven't gone as far as Alta and up the top where you see the Northern Lights and everything like that. Um, I want to do, there's certain cruises that do sort of the Amazon and Rio de Janeiro and all down in South America, all around there. Buenos Aires, the Falkland Islands. The list goes on. Again, you'd think doing 60 cruises, you've done them all. But of course,
Yeah.
cruises were everywhere around that. You know, to think I've done all these cruises, all these holidays, and I've only experienced something like 21% of the world.
Wow. And they're always expanding where it's possible to go on cruises. I think one of the river cruise lines, I'm not sure, somebody can write in, put in the comments which one, just opened up itineraries in Colombia, a river in the country of Colombia. I'm like, wow, put that on my
It's
list.
mind boggling, isn't it? That places where you never thought, because as you rightly touched on there, river cruising, something I've never wanted to do until I've got older, where I've experienced people who are a little bit older than me going on it because it's luxury and they go to all these places where these cruise ships can't go. And it's simply amazing. But touching on that small ship again, there,
Yeah.
the luxury feel. Crystal, because they're smaller, get into certain ports and destinations
Mhm.
because they are smaller ships. And that's what I've noticed a lot of their itineraries. You know, fantastic. And
For
they
sure.
always get the best berths, you know, when they dock in and they berth up, they're always close. So, yeah, it's back to what you said. There's too many to list. There's too many dream cruises, but the bank balance
Yeah.
won't take me just as yet.
Yeah. So what's next? Like, do you have any luxurious cruise or any cruises, luxurious or otherwise, planned right
Yes,
now?
I've just come off Explora Journeys, which has resulted in booking another two Explora Journeys. So we're going in March next year. And you're not going to believe this. We're going in 2028. That's how far my calendar goes. So we're going in March 2028 all the way out to Jordan and Petra and Alexandria. So we're doing all that sector. So that's another bucket list. We've also got Azamara next April for 2 weeks, which I haven't tried. So as you can see, Crystal has kicked off that 6-star bracket for us. So now we're going Crystal, Explorer, Azamara, and there is one Silver Sea cruise that I'm looking at. However, it's out of my price range at the moment. So I'm still
Yeah.
guided by price, like many of us are.
Yeah.
Um, but after experiencing Crystal, it's put in a little, should we say, floating thought in my mind going, does it get any better than this? And so far, Explorer were amazing, fantastic, superb, going back on them.
Mm.
However, Crystal still pipped them to the top.
Yeah. I love that. Well, Bradley, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much. I found you on TikTok. Sounds like you also are pretty active on Instagram. If other people want to follow you, watch the videos from Crystal, Explore, or any others, how can they find you?
Yeah, so as you said, on TikTok, I'm quite new to the social media aspect of it. It was only because friends and family and people who we've met on cruises have said to me, look, you need to get into this. You need to go on social media, share your experiences. So I have. YouTube, again, Explore with Bradley. You'll find me. I've got about 5,000 followers, quite low, but I'm getting there. My reviews, as I said, open and honest. I do my own editing, not very good. People can have a laugh, but it's open and raw, authentic content. Again, Instagram, Explore with Bradley. You'll see me on there. Just my pictures, funny little lines underneath of the experiences. And again, as you said, on TikTok, Explore with Bradley. And you'll see my face or my mum's. And there we are. Give us a follow. Give me a message. I'll answer everything I can. And it's just us.
It's amazing. Well, thank you so much. I hope you will come back to tell us about all of your upcoming luxurious experiences. And to the listeners, thank you for being here as always. Until next time, I wish you safe and luxurious cruising. Hey, before you go, if you're enjoying this content, I would so appreciate a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you'd like to be on the show, there's a link to a form in the show notes, or you can email me at luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. That's luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. I hope to hear from you soon.